The rope went slack, then taut, then slack again. Simon Yates felt it before he understood it. His partner Joe Simpson had swung into empty space somewhere below him in the darkness. He couldn't see him, couldn't hear him, couldn't pull him up. He was losing his own grip on the mountain. His hands were freezing. His anchor was failing. And somewhere below him, on that rope, was his best friend. Simon Yates made the decision in seconds. He took out his knife, and he cut the rope. Joe Simpson fell into the crevasse and disappeared. Simon descended alone, certain he had just killed his partner. He was wrong. Joe Simpson and Simon Yates were both in their mid-20s when they decided to attempt Siula Grande, a 6,344-meter peak in the Peruvian Andes, unclimbed by its west face, technically demanding, and remote enough that if something went wrong, there would be no rescue. No helicopter could reach that altitude. No team was close enough to help. If they got into trouble, they were on their own. Both men knew this. They went anyway. That was the culture of alpine climbing in the 1980s. Small teams, fast and light, pushing into terrain that larger expeditions wouldn't attempt. Joe and Simon had climbed together before. They trusted each other completely. That trust was about to be tested in a way neither of them could have imagined. They reached base camp in June 1985. Their equipment was minimal by modern standards. No satellite phone, no GPS, no emergency beacon. Just ropes, ice axes, crampons, and the experience they had built over years of climbing. The ascent of the west face took 3 days. It was technically brutal. Near vertical ice and rock at altitude, temperatures dropping to -30 at night, both men pushing their bodies to the edge of what was sustainable. But they made it. On June 9, 1985, Joe Simpson and Simon Yates stood on the summit of Siula Grande, the first people ever to climb the west face. The descent began immediately. They were exhausted. The weather was closing in, and Joe Simpson's luck was about to run out. It happened fast. On the descent, Joe's foot broke through a snow overhang, and he fell, not far but enough. He landed hard on his right leg, felt the knee collapse inward, heard the sound. He knew immediately. His tibia had been driven up through his knee joint. In the mountains at 6,000 meters with no medical support and days from civilization, a shattered knee was not just an injury. It was a death sentence. Both men knew it. Neither said it. Simon made a decision without hesitation. He wasn't leaving Joe on the mountain. They would get down together. He fashioned a lowering system using their ropes. He would lower Joe down the mountain in stages, 300 feet at a time, then descend to him, then lower him again. It was slow, it was exhausting, and it was working. For hours they made progress. Joe in agony with every movement, controlling his descent as best he could, trusting Simon completely. Simon above him in the darkness and the cold, managing the rope with freezing hands, losing feeling in his fingers, his own body pushing past its limits. Then Joe swung out over the edge of a cliff and into empty space. Joe dangled in open air. Below him, nothing. A crevasse, dark and deep, opening into the mountain. Above him, the rope stretching up into darkness towards Simon, who couldn't see him, couldn't hear him over the wind, and couldn't pull him up. Simon felt the weight change on the rope. He felt Joe swing. He felt the anchor beneath him begin to fail. The snow seat he had carved into the mountain slowly giving way under the combined weight of 2 men. He was being pulled off the mountain. He had 2 options: let go and fall with Joe, or cut the rope. He held on for over an hour, sitting in -30 temperatures, fingers beyond feeling, anchor failing inch by inch, holding the weight of his partner below him in the darkness. An hour of refusing to accept that there was no other option. Then the anchor gave another inch, and Simon Yates took out his penknife and cut the rope. Joe fell 80 feet into the crevasse. Simon sat on the mountain alone in the dark, holding the end of the severed rope, and waited for morning. He descended the next day. He searched the crevasse opening. He called Joe's name. No answer. He walked back to base camp and told their support Richard Hawking that Joe was dead. He believed it completely. He was wrong. Joe Simpson hit the floor of the crevasse and blacked out. When he came back to consciousness, he was lying in a cathedral of ice, walls of blue and white rising 40 feet above him, a shaft of light coming through the hole he had fallen through far above. Alive, alone, at the bottom of a crevasse in the Peruvian Andes, with a shattered knee, no food, no water, and no rope. He spent a long time looking at that shaft of light above him. It was unreachable, 40 feet of vertical ice, with no way to climb it on one leg. The only other option was the darkness below him, a slope of ice leading down into the mountain and into nothing he could see. He chose the darkness. He lowered himself down the slope on his one good leg and his ice axe, moving by feel and instinct, descending deeper into the crevasse until the slope leveled out and he found himself on a frozen floor. And ahead of him, incredibly, impossibly, another shaft of light, not from above this time, from the side, a way out. He crawled toward it, pulled himself through a gap in the ice, and emerged onto the glacier below the crevasse, alive outside and 3 miles from base camp. He started crawling. 3 miles, broken knee, no food, melting snow in his hands for water, hallucinating from pain and altitude, moving at a pace that covered maybe half a mile a day. Joe set himself targets. That rock, that patch of ice, that shadow on the glacier. Reached the next target, then set another. He later said he had a voice in his head throughout the crawl. Not an emotional voice, not a desperate voice. A calm, practical, almost irritating voice that simply kept telling him what the next target was. Reach that rock. Now reach that one. Keep moving. He crawled through the night. He crawled through the next day. He hallucinated constantly. Music playing in his head, people talking to him, the mountains shifting around him. He kept moving through all of it. Simon and Richard were preparing to leave base camp. They had waited 3 days. Joe was gone. It was time to go. On the night of the 3rd day, Joe Simpson crawled into the edge of the base camp. He could smell the latrine before he could see the tents. He crawled toward the smell, the most disgusting navigation point in survival history. He reached the camp. He called out. Simon Yates came out of his tent and found his dead partner lying in the dirt outside base camp, alive, after 3 days. After a cut rope and a crevasse, and 3 miles of glacier on a shattered knee. He later said he couldn't speak. He just stood there. Joe was evacuated and hospitalized. He spent months recovering, multiple surgeries on his knee, a long rehabilitation, a psychological reckoning with what he had been through. He wrote a book. Touching the Void, published in 1988, became one of the most celebrated mountaineering books ever written. It was later made into a documentary film that introduced the story to millions of people who had never heard of Siula Grande. But the book did something else too. It told Simon's story honestly. Joe Simpson, the man Simon had cut the rope on, defended Simon's decision publicly and completely. He said Simon had done the only thing possible, that cutting the rope was not a betrayal, but a rational decision made by a man in an impossible situation, that he would have done the same. Simon Yates had lived with the weight of that decision for years. The climbing community had questioned him, criticized him, suggested he had taken the easy way out. Joe's book and Joe's defense silenced most of that criticism. The two men remained friends. Joe Simpson went back to climbing. His knee never fully recovered, but he continued mountaineering for years, pushing into terrain that most people would consider insane for someone with a functioning knee, let alone a reconstructed one. He was asked once whether he forgave Simon for cutting the rope. He said there was nothing to forgive. Simon had given him the only gift available on that mountain, a chance, however small, however impossible, a chance. 2 men went up Siula Grande. One cut a rope, one fell into a crevasse. Both made it home. Joe Simpson didn't survive because Simon saved him. He survived because when the rope was cut and the darkness closed in, he chose the slope that led down instead of the light that led nowhere. Sometimes survival isn't about the right decision. It's about making any decision at all and committing to it completely. If you enjoy survival stories that feel impossible but could be real, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.